can get the party started. All right. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Callie. I'm an engagement associate here at DarkSky International. And today we are going to be discussing The Inner Clock by Lynne Peeples, who is also our Under One Sky keynote speaker. All right. Before we really get into the hubbub, I want to mention some really cool things that you can do in Zoom to improve your experience today. So if you look at the very bottom of your screen, you're going to be able to see the capabilities of our Q&A. If you have any questions that you don't feel comfortable asking yourself, please do pop them in the Q&A or chat, and then I will read them out so that we can discuss them. Also, we have our translated captions. If you're anything like me, I like to read and listen at the same time. I don't know if that's coming with age, but it's just a more comfortable experience. And if English is not your preferred language, please do switch to the language that you would prefer to listen to and read as well. It's awesome. All right. Also, apologies. This recording is also going to be recorded and it's live streaming on Facebook. So if at any time you need to leave early or hopped in late, please do check that out on our YouTube channel. It will be accessible after our meeting ends today. Awesome. All right. Also, we have some really, really cool events coming up, such as Under One Sky. This is our 24-hour global conference. It's totally virtual. It's on November 7th to the 8th. And it is a great time to not only hear insights from, different advocates around the world, really, working towards reducing light pollution in their community, but it's also a great time to hear what, some dark sky leaders are doing in terms of, oh my gosh, what do we say? Oh my goodness, like proclamations or just global initiatives, working with their government, creating educational resources. It is a great and fantastic way to connect. Also coming up, well, Inner Clock, where's my book? This is The Inner Clock. This is what we are going to be discussing today. It is a fantastic book by Lynne Peeples, and she is our keynote speaker for Under One Sky as well. If you did not have the chance to buy the book, listen to the book, gain access to the book, I do highly recommend it. It had really great insights about how our circadian rhythm is being impacted by not only, modern society, but also, just our behaviors from day to day. So, and this is what we're going to be discussing. So, right on, right on. And don't feel like you had to bring the book. This is just me. I have a couple of notes in here. So, super casual. All right. Also, because we are going to be talking about some of the science insights, that she was talking about in The Inner Clock, I also do recommend reading the State of the Science 2025 report that recently came out. I believe it was back in January. Chris, please correct me if I am wrong. But it is a great report that talks about all different types of aspects that have been impacted by light pollution, not only nature, but, our well-being. Gosh, what else? Yeah. And, what is it? Yeah, that's pretty much, it's a massive report, but it's fantastic. It really gives great insights. So I highly recommend checking that out as well. Also, if you are needing outreach materials that relate to dark sky, please do check out our outreach materials page online. It has been updated, so we have a lot more materials accessible in different languages. And if you find out that, you're not seeing a language that you would like to see translated in our outreach materials, please do reach out to me at engagement@darksky.org, and I'll pop that in the chat as well. But it is fantastic. The word is spreading, people are wanting more materials. So please do check that out. And last but not least, our home outdoor lighting assessment. If at the end of this meeting, you feel like, you want to take action and do something, that would be a great start to becoming more part of the DarkSky community, please do check out our home outdoor lighting assessment. It's a great way to, go around your house, and see maybe what could be improved upon to promote the night sky, become more dark sky friendly. Me, myself, I just moved here in April in Olympia, Washington is where I'm at. And I noticed that, the lighting wasn't quite what I wanted it to be. And I was able to tone it down and make it warmer colored, which really does help my eyes because that bright light was something else. Uh, so, but yeah, all right. And without further ado, I think we're gonna get started. All right, and I'm going to share my screen because I created really cute slides that I want to show you all. All right, let me see. Boop. Awesome. And if you are just now joining us, please do mention in the chat where you're from, connect with others. This is super casual. And let me see about my slides. Perfect, perfect. I hope we can all see that. And I'm going to go into the presentation mode. Right on, and I'm going to go backwards. All right. Like I said, welcome to Dark Skies Book Club featuring The Inner Clock by Lynne Peeples. More about Lynne. Lynne Peeples is a science journalist, statistician, and author of The Inner Clock, Living in Sync with Our Circadian Rhythms. Her writing on science, health, and the environment has appeared in The Guardian, Time, Scientific American, and The Atlantic. A former biostatistician and MIT Knight Science Journalist Fellow, she holds master's degrees from Harvard and NYU and lives in Seattle. She's my neighbor. So Lynne is also this year's keynote speaker, as I had addressed earlier, for our Under One Sky 24-hour global conference coming up November 7th to the 8th. So if you have not registered for that conference, please do. It's going to be one heck of a time, and I'm going to be excited to see all of you. Right on. Hi, all right. And before I start this video, this is a short word from Lynne, essentially, just giving an intro to her book and, saying welcome to all of us. So I'm going to turn up the volume and then.
Thank you so much for reading my book. And thank you for sharing my passion for these important topics. In particular, we all need bright days and we need dark nights. We now know just how important this is for our health and our happiness. So stay clockwise, and I look forward to seeing you at Under One Sky.
Y'all, wasn't that so great? Loved it. And also very creative with the light and the dark. Wouldn't have thought of that. So yeah, she is super excited to see all of us at Under One Sky, and she's going to be opening the event. So please do come join, not only celebrate her and, the book that we're about to discuss, but also just all of the amazing work that our advocates are doing worldwide. This is a great time to connect. So please check out Under One Sky after this. All right. And now before we really get into the discussion, and chatting about the inner clock, I want to have us let loose. So we're going to do this short activity called This or That, where essentially you come off mute and you say which you are. So in this case, this is our first slide. Are you a night owl or are you an early bird? And it's going to go quick. Oh,
Early
right
bird.
on, Pamela. Right on. All right, Pamela's got it.
Early bird.
Early bird.
Awesome. Right on. All right.
Is there like a
Early
10 or
bird.
11 a.m. with coffee option?
It's coming up, Patrick. It's coming up. All right, on to the next. Are you sunrise cuppa or midnight snack?
Sunrise cuppa.
Sunrise cuppa, yeah.
Okay. All right. Right on. Power nap or push through?
Push through.
Power nap.
Power nap.
Morning.
Right on, right on.
Push.
Are we brightly lit room or cozy dim light?
Cozy.
dim
Cozy.
light.
Cozy.
Cozy.
Same. Sleep in on the weekends or stick to your regular schedule?
Sleep in.
Regular.
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 Sleeping.
Regular.
Regular.
Oh my, none of us like to sleep in. I mean, me neither, but you know.
I'm too old.
Felt, Patrick, yes. Night mode or full brightness?
Night mode.
Night.
Full brightness when I'm at the
Night mode
telescope.
and extra apps to make it even darker.
Ooh, I like that. Natural light wake up or setting an alarm clock?
Natural.
Natural
light wake up.
Ooh, I heard a mix of both in there.
I wake up in the dark.
That's fair, Jerry. Walk in daylight or walk under moonlight?
Walk in daylight.
Walk in daylight.
Both.
Daylight.
Daylight.
Both.
Both.
Right on. I'm more of a walk in daylight, but you know, I've got 2 kids. I go to bed at like 8, so there's no moonlight walking right now. Screen free before bedtime or nighttime scrolling?
Nighttime scrolling.
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 Oh man.
Ugh.
All right. And that concludes this or that. I hope that kind of warmed you all up. I am so glad you participated. I heard a mix of both, except for when it came to sleeping in or following our schedules. That was a shock. But all right, our first theme, and please do come off mute so that you can answer questions and really engage with the discussion. But we're going to be addressing our body's rhythm. This was one of the core topics in the inner clock. And it was really about, you know, how our circadian rhythm has been set by the evolution of man, really, of humans. And I'm going to read a short excerpt from the book, and it says, "We evolved outdoors. The sun during the day shines a full spectrum of light, and it's centered around the blue wavelengths. We evolved these cells in the back of our eyes, these photoreceptors that perceive that blue light and send signals to our master clock in our brain that says, I see this strong blue light. It must be daytime. That's how we evolved to tell day from night." And so my question for all of you is, how have you noticed your energy, focus, or mood shift with changing in light or darkness?
I've
And then-
noticed changes like in the fall. Steep, like really wake up still tired in the morning, peak in the middle of the day, especially in the fall, but then really tired at night and steep drop off and I get cranky. So
Yeah, I gotta say the same. As the day, you know, grows shorter, I find myself, well, maybe not as tired as during the summer when like days are longer, but still, you know, as that sun sets, I'm pretty much out for the count. So over here, the sun's starting to set like at 7, maybe earlier than that. And I'm pretty much lights out, pajamas on, and I'm in bed. So it's kind of unfortunate because I lose hours. So. But what about anyone else?
It is tougher to get up and running in the morning this time of year when the sun isn't coming up and you're still forced to get up and go to bed. I don't know if I've been conditioned, but no matter what, it could be winter or summer, and I'm still going to get tired around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, whether it's dark or light. But the mornings are the tougher parts. Need the morning light.
I find
Yeah.
it helps me be more efficient. Like I know it's going to be dark around 6, so it's like, okay, get it done now. And that actually feels pretty good.
Yeah, I've got to agree. It's so much so that even in the fall, I have like that alarm clock that I don't know, turns on based on like the light. So it gets like brighter and brighter as it gets closer to the time I need to wake up. So that definitely does help. Granted, now that I live in the Pacific Northwest and, you know, the rainy season is coming, I don't know how I'm going to adjust. But stay tuned, everybody. What about you, Brooke?
I was thinking, Patrick, along the same lines that in the morning, the sunlight really helps me get started. And in Tucson, it's 5 a.m. It's already bright. But here now it's like 7 a.m., I'm like, do I start working? What am I trying to do? But in the evening, it seems a lot easier to keep routine and keep that like 8 to 9 o'clock. Same with you, Patrick, get to bed. But it seems like the morning is a lot harder.
Yeah, for sure. Any other insights? Jerry, I see you're not on mute.
No, I'm not. Should we be?
No, 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 no. I
Okay.
was just wondering if you had anything you wanted to say.
I start getting tired around 8:30 at night, and I'll go to bed between 9 and 10. But then I wake up between 5 and 6, sometimes 4:30 like this morning, and I'm ready to go. So I get up and I read the paper and drink my coffee and plan the day, and watch the sun or watch the city come alive, which I really enjoy.
Go, Deborah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like as I'm getting older, my hours are definitely shifting earlier. And I'm a choral singer, and I almost started singing with this choir, but then I realized that the rehearsals would end at 10, and then I would come home and be looking for parking at 10:30 at night. And I just thought, I can't do that. That's going to mess up my sleep schedule for like a couple days, and I'll be tired the next morning. And it was interesting to just have the realities of, our internal rhythms have to dictate things that we might want to do. But it just didn't feel like it was worth the sacrifice for me to just be a wreck for the 2 days after every rehearsal.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that. Even in college, friends were partying late at night and I was in bed like early. I could never stay up that late. And I think it goes back to what Lynn was saying is that there are just some people whose 24-hour cycles run shorter than others, while others may run longer. And there was that insight that really spoke to me. And it was essentially that the schooling system kind of prioritizes people with those shorter circadian rhythms, like we wake up super early 6, class starts what 7, I think, in the morning, and then we're out by 3. So what do people with the longer rhythms do? They just gotta bear and grin, I guess. Brooke, I saw you nodding your head.
That really spoke to me too. I just thinking about that and how the workday works too. It was interesting to think about, and I can see my peers in the past that affected them being able to go into school so early that they weren't able to like focus until later in the day, and they were better at sports, which happened to be later in the evening. And so I think that really is interesting topic that Lynn brought up.
Yeah, and so I think that raises the question, at least for me, is there a way that society can accommodate every kind of person with this a circadian rhythm, like whether it's those with shorter, those with longer, is there a universal solution to it, or is there more research needing to be done? Did anyone else think about that or have similar thoughts or even contrasting opinions?
I have like, I can see the parallels between like school and work. Work days also start early if you let you get a job that lets you start later. Like I had an internship at Forest Service, which they let me start later than everybody. A lot of people in the office, including my boss, came like at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning. I came at 8:30 to 9 in the morning, but I worked a lot later when the office emptied. So it's good to accommodate workers that are night owls like me that like to stay up late, sleep in, and then because you're more productive when you're not woken up in the middle of your sleep cycles, I believe. But it was just interesting the differences between my schedule and a lot of my coworkers in that office.
Yeah, totally. And I have more to say about that, but I'm gonna go Chris and then Kelly. I see y'all's hands are up.
Yeah, it just made me thought of the daylight savings debate we have here in the Northern Hemisphere, losing lots of daylight, and it gets so cold here in Minnesota. Or, I see Patrick there in North Dakota. So yeah, I try to adjust my schedule during the winter so I can be near windows, not in windowless basements as much as possible during the winter hours, because without daylight, just go a little bit crazy.
Yeah, that's totally felt. Kelly?
Yeah, so I don't kind of like Olga, like I wound up like being in Seattle and then moving to the East Coast, but still working for my job in Seattle. And I'm a super morning person. And so it was great. I felt like I had the whole morning until like 11 a.m. to do whatever I wanted. And I would go on hikes and grocery shop and whatever. But then after like a month of that, I was like, oh, at the end of the day, I can't think straight. Like that's more time for like big body things rather than like problem solving. And so I would try to figure out how to do the work that was more busy work near the end of the day, because it was then quick, go eat dinner and go to bed after that. So I thought it was great, but then I didn't like it anymore. And now I work East Coast time and live on the East Coast. So it's a lot better.
That's awesome. Before we switch to the next theme, does anyone else have anything they want to say? Any input on the first one? Very good. All right. Moving on. Thank you all for that discussion. I think that was super insightful, and I feel like we can all relate, not just from being in school, but also working, and now, and what that could potentially look like after we're done working, or if we have different outside hobbies. So, all right. Going to our next theme, living in sync. Lynne Peeples said, these inner clocks we have in our bodies are not precision type timekeepers. That's why we need these regular recalibration opportunities with the light dark cycle of our planet. And so with that in mind, and what living in sync means to, me or you or, society really, what parts of modern life makes it hardest to stay connected to these natural rhythms? I know I can think of a few, but I want to hear from you first.
I have some examples of my modern life. It depends on where I'm living. Like at NAU, when I went to college, it was the lights of the campus and mostly the telescope. The astronomy club would open it late at night and I would be at it till like midnight. So I couldn't go to sleep till but then I had to bus back to the dorm. So I got to the dorm at like 12:30, but then I still wasn't tired. So then I had to wind down, like read a book. And then I went to sleep at 1 o'clock. But it got dark like maybe 5 hours before that or more. So, and then smartphones, obviously city lights. It just depends on where I am.
I would say the 24-hour like existence cycle now. Nothing shuts down. You can get door douche delivered at any minute. People call and text at all times without regard. And of course, what Pamela said, the neighbors lighting and this insane like idea that we're safer with bright, like, airport grade lights on everything. As well as buildings that are just lit up all night. And if you live in a building and you can't control the outside lighting, if you're a renter, for example, there's that. Okay, I spoke enough.
Well, I'll piggyback off of that one too. I mean, sorry, didn't want to interrupt. But yeah, the 24/7 work cycle and business cycle. I know where I work, there's a lot of like operational floor environments where it's kind of the reverse problem from nighttime lighting. It's dimly lit 24/7. So if you have a day shift worker, they're still walking into a cave where the only illumination is screens and dim desk lighting. And it's that way 24/7. So you get the same sort of issues, but kind of in reverse. They're not exposed to the natural daylight, which I hadn't really thought about much until reading the book.
Yeah, I'm a piggyback exactly off of that comment, because it really, made me go, oh, when she spoke about, night shift workers and how there are scientific links to having health issues. I would not have thought, my spouse worked as a custodian at the airports late nights. Granted, it was for a short period of time, but still, like that, really spoke to me like what could have happened or may have happened if he continued to work longer in like those contrasting periods of, he should be sleeping, but now he's awake. What effect does that have on the body? So yeah. Go, Chris.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with some folks up in Alaska and how about it's not night and day, it's just there's the dark time, and unfortunately society's overlit. So yeah, about that, talking about under one sky and the message of last year, the smart and sustainable design with intention for darkness. Yeah, that was the thought I had.
And I do see some people are commenting in the chat. Someone said, neighbors' bright lighting. And I think we all can relate. I really do. I think that is one of the main connectors, is just, outdoor lighting. It is such a point of contention. I live in an apartment. I can't turn off the outdoor lights. And I've tried to contact management and they're like, that's outside of my abilities. But really it does have an effect, on my sleeping cycle, the lights coming in through the windows. We talk about light trespass all the time. But my goodness, they are bright. So, but I don't want to suck up the air in the room. What does everyone else think? Yeah. Just looking over here at the chat, Flower said, smart and sustainable design for darkness. Yep, she really agrees with that. Olga?
Yes, so the other night we were trying to look for a comet, but the neighbors have prison-like lights. I'm like, well, how are we supposed to see this dim comet with these prison-like lights? And the combination of that, then I have a drilling rig blocking half the sky too. And I'm like, how am I supposed to see the comet? Just too much stuff on the horizon and then stuff that's lit. It's just not good.
I also like your comment in the chat about sounds. I mean, the part of our nighttime experience, at least in bigger cities and even mid-sized cities, is noise. And that is starting to influence me as much as lights. It's hard to get good night's sleep when there's cars zipping back and forth, the main drags, and jets flying overhead, and just a constant, I don't know, 50, 60 degree or 60 decibel hum going on at all hours of the day.
Julie?
I found that something that affects my sleep is my dog, because she sees things out in the yard at night that she barks at. And then she also wakes up much earlier than I do. So, but I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't get rid of her. But it would be nice to be able to sleep in.
Yeah. Ahmed?
Yeah, I would say mainly for me as a challenge is the screen time in general, whether it's when you're at the office, the screen time, or using your phone all the time. This for me is a challenge, even when I decide to go outside for a walk or anything, and then suddenly you see like a nice scene or a landscape view that you would like to take a picture of. So for me, being present in the moment is better, or maybe it's more enjoyable than taking the phone again and take these pictures, because the way that you perceive the nature around you, I think it would affect your health in a better way rather than taking pictures, which is also good, but it's taking the focus from you. So yeah, this is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that screen time. I almost use it on purpose at night, like when I know I have like a long night ahead of me. I will purposely shine my phone screen like in my face, like with the brightness on, and then I'll like do it for like a couple of seconds, and then I'll be able to like continue. It kind of knocks off the sleepiness for me. Um, which of course I'm doing exactly what I'm not supposed to be doing. But I almost use it as a tool because I know that's the exact impact it's going to give me. Does anyone else find themselves like doing that on purpose, or is it just me?
I do it similarly where like I try to go to grocery shopping at night if I need to be up because the bright lights in the grocery store are just so like jarring that I know that I can do either some additional work or errands. And I do think that is an effect if I am not able to do it earlier in the day and I need to go to bed. Going to the grocery store is so jarring just because the lights are so bright at night. And then going outside and it is so dark in Tucson. And then that kind of throws off my rhythm for nighttime.
Couldn't agree more, Brooke. When I go in the grocery store, I have these amber glasses plus an EMF hat that I wear. And now I even have noise canceling headphones. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. But I find that I don't have to get my stuff and get out, right? I can actually stay in there and calm. It's really wild. Like all of a sudden, and I heard that maybe it was in Lynne's book that they actually have this lighting that induces people to buy more. It stimulates us. So the lighting companies, in a way, they use color to stimulate us buying more stuff. They're using lights, and they have these lights on vegetables and everything. And I have the static meter that I put underneath the vegetables. And I'm like, oh my God, they're getting fried. And so I get the vegetables from underneath, that haven't been so hit by all this artificial light. It's wild. And I know more people, it isn't just us as far as the grocery stores. So many of my friends are like, man, I don't know what's going on, but I got to get in, get out. Yeah,
Wow.
I go to the farmer's market too, as much as I can. But there are some things I just have to go in the store for. But as much as possible, the farmer's market is great here in Squim. It's over now, but hey.
Wow. I feel like it's that part in the book that Lynn is like, once she saw, started researching more about the circadian rhythm, then she thought about it all the time and she saw it everywhere. And now I'm going to go into the grocery store and really be cognizant of how they use their lighting.
Yeah.
Wow. That's shocking. Shocking to say the least.
It is shocking. Yeah.
I wonder if it's the same way. I don't know anything about fridge manufacturers, but their lighting is also bright. And when Lynn was, oh, right, Pamela, go
Well,
ahead.
I have to put like filters on the light in the fridge, even during the daytime. And then even this new range I bought, it's like a fire alarm goes off when it's preheated. I'm like, do we really need that fire alarm to let us know? But yeah, if you can put a filter over the light in your fridge, it helps a lot.
That is good to know because
Yeah.
I know Lynn did the same thing in her when she was in that bunker for 10 days. She made sure there was tape everywhere, tape over the lighting fixtures, tape over the clocks, the stove, just as you said, like that preheat alarm. Yeah, all of it blocked it, so I can't imagine how jarring it was once she came back up to the surface, and like the sunlight and the noise. Wow.
Yeah.
Very impactful. Wow. Okay. All right. So this is the point where I kind of just want to open it up for discussion. No more prompts. No specific questions from me. Just like, what did you think of the book? If you read the book, or what do you think of your circadian rhythm and what you've heard today from, your fellow advocates? All right, go, Olga.
Here's another important point that I think is really bad for circadian rhythms is hot flashes. I'm only like 25 years old, and I get hot flashes now. I wake up, it's so hot, and I have to wait for it to go away, and I fall back asleep, but then I wake up again hot. And yeah, and it's the worst in the fall and spring, I've noticed, when the AC is not cranking and when it's not cool enough outside to cool the house down. So it's my theory, but I wonder what causes hot flashes. Is something with lighting going on, or climate change, or something about industrial society that makes it worse in women? It's just interesting subject that I feel like is detrimental to sleep.
100% yes. That was actually mentioned in the book. I'm gonna get sick of saying it, but I mean, this is why we're here, right? But yeah, in the inner clock, she mentioned that it's all interconnected. Once one part of your circadian rhythm goes, it throws everything else out of whack. You know, our temperature controls at night. She had noticed when she was in the bunker that, you know, she did start feeling a lot hotter, a lot warmer, later in the day, you know, depending on what she perceived, what time it was. But yeah, it was like throwing everything, you know, her heart rate even. So spot on, Olga. Yeah, it's definitely having an impact. Kelly?
I am only about a third of the way into the book, but just enough that I have a question for folks. Like, for those who haven't read, like the author went into a bunker, like you just mentioned, Kelly, and had no light and did an experiment. What was it, 10 days? I don't remember. Was it 2 weeks?
10 days. Yeah.
10 days. And then the author went to Alaska in the middle of summer, and then the sun never ever set, and they were, you know, watching it at midnight and whatever. I don't know how many days she did that before, but my question to folks is, like, would you do one of those experiments to see like what happens or experience that, or would you and which one?
I say yes. That's super interesting to me. And I've known folks who've done similar styles, like no talking or headphones or a pure dark, pure quiet. Here in Minnesota, we also have that really quiet room. I've also been interested to try the hour-long challenge. Can you stay in there? That type of stuff is always very interesting to me.
I would say no to Alaska. Well, no to the bunker. So I would take Alaska. Only because with the bunker, it's not just like the lack of light, but the lack of sound. I would freak myself out. And she was getting a little freaked out herself, but for 10 days by myself, I don't know. I don't think my brain could handle it. So
I think it's worth noting, sorry, I think it's worth noting that these are both of those, depravity of light and then constant light are both torture methods. So no, I wouldn't do it myself because I already know the effects of it. But you know, both of those are like in isolation. You know, these are well known. You know, and done here even when you have to get sent to isolation. So yeah, we need both, not either or all the time.
yeah, that's a really good point. What are others' thoughts? Would you take one or the other, or thoughts on, you know, the impact that the outside environment has on our circadian rhythm? Olga?
I remember reading somewhere that in prisons they use like night and day lighting, and they like 24-hour lighting, like in CCOT, the prison in El Salvador. They have the lights on 24 hours a day, and prisoners have to sleep in this brightly lit cells, and it's just can't be good for prisoners to have the lights on all the time. I mean, I understand security to prevent escapes, but it just seems like horrible to have bright lights on you when you're trying to sleep.
Yeah. And it's not just any lighting either. I mean, it's bright white floodlights, like the worst I think that you can get. So, I mean, even toning down the lights maybe to something warmer or dimmer even. I think would have a positive impact. But yeah, like we're saying, it's totally intentional what lights are being used in these types of situations for sure. So, Jerry, I saw you come off mute. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to relate that I had some friends in Anchorage that we went up and stayed with for 3 or 4 days. And at 12 o'clock at night, they let their kids out to play basketball because they just felt so guilty that during the winter, that was in the summer. In the winter time, it's hard to get out and find daylight at all. So they would let them do whatever they wanted to outside anytime, which is something that in the lower 48, we don't have to even approach that situation for the most part. But I would like the bunker.
Why would you like the bunker?
Darkness has always fascinated me. It's not just because of the stars. I don't know. It's something I've always approached, and I love being outside when it's dark, especially with new snow on the ground.
Is there snow in the Olympic Peninsula? Jerry's in Washington, by the way.
There is up in the hills, but not down here yet.
Okay. Oh, wow. Well, I'm all about the snow. Came from Utah. Flower?
Hey, hi everyone. So I haven't finished the whole book, but this subject fascinates me, and so I'm glad to be part of the discussion. And yeah, the fridge light, even though I loved how in the book she mentioned how the shift workers are having a lot more disease, that they can decrease that by not eating in the dark, eating in the light. So that was good news for me to learn something that they can do to improve their lives if they're kind of stuck in that place working at the moment. But yeah, how do we get the manufacturers to make, like the fridge light? That's a big thing. For us, we put a red light bulb in our fridge, which works because our house gets dark before it gets dark outside where our fridge is. So even though it's so we're opening our fridge even though it's nighttime to get something, usually like for tea or something. But how can we get the manufacturers to have the awareness to make a more golden light for the appliances? This going all the way back to the manufacturing seems like really important. And I also wanted to ask more about the shield. The one gal was talking about having a shield over her refrigerator light because the red light makes it difficult to tell everything. A more golden would be nice, would be so great. And then one other thing was like my grocery store, I went in the evening and it's a small grocery store, but still the lights were just so intense. And I was just thinking about the workers that are standing there and wondered if somehow together we can come up with, like we have the letter to your neighbor, if we can have a letter to your grocery store, or who is it that we need to talk to, all the way to the beginning, to the source of, so that grocery stores can turn the lights down, even though now I just learned that they're using it also for marketing and buying, increasing buying. But it would be sweet to have a petition or some suggestive letter so they turn the lights down in the evening so people, the workers, aren't suffering so much. So I know that's kind of a lot rolled into one, but
yeah. Well, you spoke about the shielding of the fridge. Maybe Pamela can speak more towards that since you
Yeah.
clocked that issue.
Yeah.
Sure. And I just posted in the chat that this company called Decorative Films has all these samples. I don't know if you can see them, but they have different colored ones. So they have amber, they have red, they have whatever is pleasing to you. And I got them just as samples when I built my house, and now I'm just loving them. I mean, I use them all over the place.
Nice.
And also, like, even during the day, that light is so bright, um that I'm happy to have it anytime.
Sure. Yes. I guess there's one other thing I wanted to share with the group. Somewhere I came across melatonin being referred to as nature's hormone, or the also the master conductor. So I just love all that we're learning about serotonin turning into melatonin and how to cultivate and nurture our melatonin, uh, so we have a healthy master conductor. And the nature hormone, I mean, that sums it up to me. That really is a beautiful way to term it, I think.
Yeah. And I think you're honestly speaking others' languages because we've got a few more hands. But yes, melatonin, that's a whole nother topic that we could totally get into. But first, Kelly and Ahmed.
Yeah, quick comment. I love this conversation about the fridge lights. In my experience, mostly having older refrigerators, you can buy different wattage of LED light bulbs that are slightly warmer color. And so you just have to look at the socket and figure out what light, and just, if you don't mind having a dimmer light in there during the daytime or having the lights on to see in the fridge, you could just get a much dimmer bulb.
That's awesome. Thank you. And then Ahmed.
Yeah, I think as Flower was saying, something very important is the awareness, especially for the manufacturer who are making the appliances or even the light fixtures, is how can we make them know about the light and the impact of it on the health. And I think one of the main things, apart from the light being maybe so bright or so cold, is the glare. That how can we avoid the glare even in our houses? For example, I tend not to use the light in the ceiling, like the down lights and stuff like that, and I use more like a linear indirect light in my house. And honestly, you would think that you would need more than that, but when you experience it, you can feel the space. You can, because you don't see the light, but you just need the reflection of this light on the surface, and this is actually what you need. And then the disturbance of the glare or the light source is something very impactful to our eye, especially at night. So whenever we can raise this awareness, I think it would be very beneficial. As I can see in your background, this very nice lighting you have with the planting is lovely. I think at night you would see this light coming through to the ceiling or reflected on the floor, and this could be it. So yeah, this is a very good point. And the shielding, as well as Pamela was saying, for the fridge. So whenever we can add accessories or anything to our house that prevent the light or the glare is coming from the light source, yeah, I think this is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually something that, the way my apartments are built, they're built around this central parking lot. And the parking lot, of course, has these really tall, street lights, that the shielding is horrible. The light is going through my window. The glare is especially bad. But I don't know if my glasses are maybe just not working, but I always subscribe to this anti-glare in my glasses. But I'm still getting a lot of glare. So
because it's 100 watt.
okay.
Nothing would prevent that, I guess.
My goodness. So I'm like, am I getting it for nothing? So yeah. And I know a few of us can relate. I see our classes out there. So but yeah, it would be does anyone else have any recommendations for flour for, reaching out to a supermarket or a regular grocery store or their local farmers market, even if, the lighting is needing to be addressed?
Interesting thought. I've never indoor, but I mean, I've definitely called about outdoor or went inside and said, hey, congrats on the new remodel. Can we talk about your lights for a moment?
Callie, I have a comment. I was recently in Denver and I was in the Vitamin Cottage, and they have a sign in there that they dim their lights in the evening for customers who have autism. And I was thinking that if you could get an advocacy group, like Autism Speaks is a national group, to go to the grocery store and say, would you consider dimming your lights at night? And the other suggestion is Aldi's International has for 3 years mandated that their stores turn their lights out when the store isn't on, and they're saving money. So you can address it from a monetary savings, but also from an advocacy point of people who are sensitive to light or have issues like autism.
That is a really good point, Elizabeth, because I have seen that, but in regard to like the sound, like they'll lower the music levels. But yeah, I wouldn't have even thought of that, honestly. Olga?
Yeah, what Elizabeth said is really captivating. I have a friend named Daisy Morgan. She has horrible photophobia and she can't stand bright office lights. And if they just dim lights, that'd be so beneficial for her. Like at work, the photophobia is so bad. She has to wear a wide brimmed outdoor hat, sunglasses inside the building to block all that out. And of course, that makes it harder to see the computer and stuff. So I think dimming those lights would also be beneficial for people with autism. And it would reduce carbon emissions too.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that because I feel like in today's society, like maybe within like the last 5 years, I've been seeing a lot more bulbs that you can adjust the lighting on them. A lot simpler. It's not like, having various different bulbs, but it's one bulb either controlled by like a remote, or like the switch on the wall. I mean, it seems like it's more simple than it ever has been. Um, so I like that. Oh, wait, Pamela, what?
Yeah,
Oh no.
it's true. I'm sorry. We all used to love those dimmer switches, but EMF is just like, ah! Yeah.
What is EMF?
Electromagnetic frequency, that you're getting from computers and all this. Yeah.
What are
So
you
many-
saying? Like, what does that mean? What are you saying about the dimmer switches?
Oh, the dimmer switches give
Yeah.
off a lot of EMFs. So, I mean, you could Google EMF.
Really?
Yeah.
I know older ones used to, like you could, like in older houses that had dimmer switches even before LEDs, you could mess with like a old school broadcast television reception even if it was close enough. But I haven't really tried that recently. It's still a thing with like the more modern systems?
Red bulbs for my kitchen. I just swapped it out for red bulbs. It just made it easier and it's so calming. I love it. So
Pamela, are yours like red for real, or are they like amber? Like, can you see color underneath them? Well, I don't know if you're colorblind, but
can you see them? These are in my kitchen and they're the only lights I have on at night. And it's a company that it's not just a red light. I wish I could remember the name of it. but they're actually very healing, like red light spectrum healing. Yeah, I just don't remember the name of the company, but you have to be careful. A friend of mine told me about this. And when I was at her house, she had all her lights dim according to the time of day. And I was like, oh my God, I feel so calm in your house. But they were just gradually dimming during the hours going into dusk. And yeah, but I love these. I really love them. I don't have any bright lights. In a way, I'm kind of concerned that I can't go in anybody's house now, because if they flip on the lights, I'm like, whoa, because I'm really acclimated to these lower lights in my own house.
Yeah, Pamela, I think you've given us a lot to think about, and I love that you have essentially practiced what you preached and really been cognizant of not only the refrigerators and like household appliances, but also like what times you go to the grocery store and really like just the experience overall. Now I feel like I'm way more in tune. And while I thought, I think me changing my kitchen lights was a good first step. But now I have even more. Like I'm gonna start looking at my fridge and seeing what I can do there. And I'm sure others can feel the same. So before we end, does anyone else have anything that they've taken away from this whole conversation, things that they might try to implement in their own lifestyles after this?
Well, I just want to say you've been a wonderful host. You made it super fun. And usually Zoom calls is like, oh God, I'll just listen to the replay later. But it was so nice to have it interactive and a great group of people. So thank you.
You all are more than welcome. And this will not be the end. Okay. I hope I continue to see all of you. Under One Sky is in November 7th to the 8th. So if you haven't registered, please do. And if you haven't had a chance to pick up this book, I highly recommend it, whether it's the physical copy, you can find it on Audible, Spotify. Oh, Jerry just showed his edition. Like even if you're done reading, pass it on. It's super insightful. I don't know if you're like me, but I don't read nonfiction science books, often, but this was a great introduction to me getting back into that. And there's a lot of dark sky material out there, including the State of the Science Report, which you should totally check out on our website. But yes, I am so glad all of you were able to join. The chat was popping off. I wasn't able to engage in there the way I wanted to, but I saw Chris was in there. I saw so many other advocates, like really, sharing ideas and experiences. Olga, honestly, I am so glad you can relate with my glasses. I wish I could take them off. But maybe LASIK is the answer, but also not because I'm scared my eyes. So Brooke, you're shaking your head up and down. Right on. But yes, we all have similarities that we share, and please do not stop this collaboration and connecting with one another. If you're not in our Dark Sky Advocacy Network, please email me at engagement@darksky.org, and I'd be happy to let you in, and so that you can really, start connecting with all sorts of different advocates in different fields, different experiences, insights. Ahmed, I loved what you were saying about the experience that we have at night in terms of nature and really getting to enjoy it. So that is my spiel. Until next time.
Thank you, Callie.
Yeah, no, thank you, Elizabeth. I love you all. You are all so great. But again, see you later.